hello everybody, how we doing? Cousin Carl's here. Cousin Carl conquers. Welcome everybody, welcome in. This is the Mad Ballad Mike podcast. My guest host today is none other than Cousin Carl. Cousin, how are you?
I'm great, how are you doing?
Hanging in there. We had an amazing weekend last weekend. We're going to get to that in just a second. But welcome in, everybody. Mad Val Mike, this is episode 14, believe it or not, already, which I've dubbed Cuz Carl Conquers. And we're going to have some fun today. We have a jam-packed show, do we not?
Oh, we do. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. We have a few segments. We're going to go a little bit longer than normal, but it's going to be awesome. Can't wait. We're going to do Mount Rushmore of Chicago sports. We're going to each give our own four Chicago athletes. We're going to do Mount Rushmore of movie sequels, the best movie sequels ever. And then we're going to have some awkward questions for each other at the very end. I look forward to your question, buddy. I have some weird ones for you.
Looking forward to it.
But first of all, we are going to start with the wedding. The wedding of Maggie and Tim, which was amazing. I thought it was an awesome time. Maggie is Carl's sister. She got married, and obviously John and Sue are his parents, and they were the head of the party. Amazing. What were your immediate thoughts on that?
Obviously a hectic, fun, great weekend overall.
Yes.
Seeing it from the side of the immediate family.
Yes.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes in both all the weeks leading up to it. Once we actually got to that weekend, everything. But honestly, it literally went perfect. Like I don't think there was I think the worst thing that might have happened was that it was a little windy.
Okay.
We went to go take some pictures before the wedding off Lake Michigan, but
I remember your dad saying we were having a cigar in the middle of the wedding reception, and he said something about how the party bus for so you were in the wedding, you were in the wedding party. Yeah. The party bus for the wedding party, I guess, was a little bit late or something. Was that correct?
Oh yeah, that was just because that was because of the wind, because we had to go to a second location to take pictures, so we were at the what's it called, the Olive Park. Okay. If anyone's familiar with Chicago, it is right off of Lake Michigan, in between Lake Michigan and Navy Pier.
Sweet. Right
by the area they call the Playpen, which is a very nice beach area. Everyone hangs out. So great, beautiful pictures. However, it was super windy that day. So yeah,
the windy city of Chicago.
Exactly.
So they had they had the wedding in Chicago. Do you remember what was the venue name?
The Walden.
The Walden. It was amazing. So I almost immediately thought it was different, but different good. I've been to probably 30, 35 weddings in my life. How many have you been doing on that?
Yeah, 20 to 30.
When you were saying just before, I remember when I was in my sister's wedding, and there's just a lot of things behind the scenes before you even get to the wedding. I remember Thursday night, there was something. Friday night, we had the rehearsal dinner, and we did it on Saturday, but you probably had like 3 days just leading up to it. So the Walden, they had, is it like a banquet hall? What is the definition of the
Probably
Walden?
Just an event center.
Event center. That sounds about right.
Seems generic enough. Yeah. No, I agree. It was awesome. It was not elaborate, but it was nice. It was kind of minimalist.
Yes.
Had everything you needed without being like flashy or over the top.
Yes.
Kind of that old school feel.
And the second floor is where the ceremony took place, and it wasn't a hour-long ceremony. Your brother Bill actually officiated. Yes. I thought he did an outstanding job.
Excellent.
We'll even give him 2 of those. We'll give him 2 applause. Nice job, Bill. And people were drinking. Like there was drinks set up. Now this is an Indiana family, and Indiana people like to drink. I think everybody likes to drink.
Yeah, I don't think that's just.
I don't think that's an Indiana thing, but there was like little cocktails you could.
The bride and groom had signature cocktails. They each had their own signature cocktail.
Did they really?
That's what it was. Yeah.
I didn't even know. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. That was a thing that I did not notice. I did notice a couple things. So, Let's Rock was one of the first things I saw. Your dad, the host of the party, and your mom, obviously, huge music guy, huge. And when I saw Let's Rock, I'm like, this is going to be a good wedding because there's going to be some good music involved all the way around.
That, and obviously for those who don't know, the groom's last name is Naraki.
Okay.
So that was the other part of that.
Oh!
You're learning a lot today already, huh?
Oh!
Yeah, so that was your aspect as well. It was everything tied into. That's why it all tied in together.
Carl, was I at the wedding? Did you see me there?
I do remember seeing you. We shook hands. We might have hugged. I mean, you were there.
Okay. I'm still not drinking, but I feel like I might have been drunk just when I got there. I don't know. It was
drunk on love.
It was a long. My parents came and stayed with me for a couple days. They flew into Indianapolis, stayed with me for a couple days. I saved them money on hotels, and then I had to pay for that with a 4-hour ride there and back. Maybe I was just drunk on the bickering between a husband and wife of 51 years. But yeah, so Tom Petty was kind of throughout the wedding.
Yeah, even as we were walking down the aisle before Maggie.
So was that Free Falling?
Yep.
So Free Falling, and I'm guessing Free Falling into Love. And then I think my favorite part of the wedding was the bride and father. So obviously Maggie's my cousin and John is my uncle. Their first dance, or their dance, was to Wildflowers, one of my favorite all-time songs by anybody, but especially Tom Petty.
Yes.
That's it. Nothing to add from
No, it's obviously anyone who knows my dad and our family knows the Tom Petty love and the connection there. So
and
it's not surprising it was Tom Petty themed, and Tim and his family also have a great appreciation for good music like that, so it worked out for everyone.
For sure. And hold on, I got to see if this even works. I want to try this out because this is your favorite sound effect. I don't even know what it's for. All right, we'll get it. Just hold on. I'm a rookie at this. All right, we're getting there. This was whatever. All right, so what? The best part of the wedding, other than that, I think, was the American Pie.
Yeah.
Our family loves the song American Pie. It is very long, but we all know every single word. And I feel like for the last at least 6 or 7 family weddings, we sing American Pie. We had to beg the band to do so.
Yeah, they said they kept saying that they wanted to wait till the end, and we had to inform that hey, the people that want to hear the song probably are going to be there at the end of the night, as they said themselves, because they're not staying till the very last shuttle. So
yeah, the Keith Kent clan, we're no spring chickens. We are getting a little bit old in the tooth. So I think the wedding technically ended at 12. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's when the last bus left.
The last bus left. So it was right around 10:45, and the troops were getting restless and might go up and tell whatever. And I'm like, it's not. I'll go talk to the band, and I did. And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna play it at the end. And I went to my sister and told her that. She goes, that's not good enough. So Amy, I don't know what she did. Maybe she pumped herself up, but then she went on a beeline, and she's like, no, and I saw her from afar because I didn't want to really go up to see what she was saying, but I saw her from afar just making all these hand gestures, and then finally she gets a little nod and walks off. I'm like, I think she got it done. So then a couple minutes later, American Pie came on and we were all singing. Love it. It's such a good moment. And I put a clip on that on one of my, on a couple of my social media things.
Saw that.
Another couple things I noticed. There was a big sign before we went into the actual hall. There was like this big separation. So it was like the ceremony with a couple of signature cocktails. Mm-hmm. And then you go downstairs to where it's like cocktail hour, and there's a big bar and they had a photo booth with all hats and stuff. And they had the main area with all the tables and the band and the head table and everything curtained off. What was I getting to? Oh, so the big sign was just where everyone's table was, the name of everybody, the guests with the table number listed. I had never seen that before. Maybe it's not interesting at all, but I thought it was good. Your thoughts on the board that was irrelevant almost?
Oh, I don't think it was irrelevant. I thought it was very helpful because a lot of times I've been to weddings. You said we've been to a ton.
Yeah.
Where, maybe you pick up your name card up front and it says your table there, but you don't know
And
who else at what table. If it was like, and I've seen the same thing but smaller too. It was nice that it was so large and prominent. It made it very easy.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I was sitting at the head table, so I
you didn't need to know.
But I did actually.
It was really well set up. I noticed that it wasn't, like you said earlier, it wasn't like flowers everywhere and just it was just nice. It was really, really nice, really clean, I think the kids would say.
Yeah, like no frills. I mean, obviously it's nice. It's a wedding. It's nice.
Amazing.
Like kind of no frills. Just
yes.
what Maggie knew exactly what she wanted, and she executed.
I think it worked awesome, and I was surprised. There was like 220 people there. I knew like 30. I'm like, so people have lots of friends these days. Is that normal? Because if I was thinking at one point, as I was feeling sorry for myself, that sometimes happens to me, that I'm like, if I had a wedding tomorrow, I'm not sure that I would even get 20 people there.
It's all right. I mean,
there
are wedding. People have weddings with one person there, one witness. People go to courthouses and get married.
So mine would be somewhere in between that and Maggie's wedding. But awesome, Don. The last thing I want to say, well, two things. The band, I'm a huge music guy myself. The band was interesting in that when I was checking out their set and how they were configured up there, I didn't see a whole lot of big instruments. I didn't see a whole lot of big speakers. The restaurant I work at, when we have bands in it almost feels like sometimes the Rolling Stones are coming in with the amount of fanfare and lighting and microphones, all that stuff. The band, it was a band / DJ. Is that a fair assessment? It was a band.
It was a band.
But when they took a break, they had iPads and they were jamming. Oh. So like American Pie was, I guess it wasn't a DJ. It was a band. They had really good singers.
Just kind of set break music that they had ready, essentially.
Yeah. I'm not very good at technology, as everybody knows. Put a laugh in there.
You're gonna wear that button out today.
What's that?
You're gonna wear that button out.
I am. I got to get some other stuff involved. I think somebody just got bit by one of my dogs. And the final thing, other than that, is I did notice this. Maggie's happiness really caught my eye. I remember we were driving in and we drove by the bus that you guys came in. And I'm like, is that? And she was like, just jamming in the bus before the wedding. I'm like, are they drunk already? Is everyone going to make it? And she was just beaming, gorgeous. You are a gorgeous bride, Maggie. As is your mother. Susan looked amazing as well. Beaming throughout the wedding, and immediately after dinner, which I thought was great. I had the chicken. What did you have?
Chicken. It was.
I had the chicken.
I had the food written down. The food was unreal.
The chicken was amazing, and it came with like some kind of a pasta salad or something. I heard some mixed reviews on the steak. I tried part of the steak. I think I stole it from my brother-in-law who was sitting next to me. I thought it tasted delicious. So the food was amazing. And right after dinner, the band started and they had some oldies hits right off the bat. Like they had this, I don't even know what the word is, but a bunch of songs in a row. And immediately the dance floor was full. Yeah. I thought sometimes it takes time, but there was some drinking going on before we actually got to our table. So I guess that's understandable.
No, the timing was well coordinated. It worked out perfect.
Yeah, I have to say it did.
And the service was fantastic, top notch there too. Like dinner didn't. I've been to weddings where sometimes it can linger and you're waiting for plates to be cleared and just kind of sitting around for 15, 20 minutes. It was not the case.
Yes, correct. So it was done really efficiently and effectively. One of the things I noticed, and one of my things my table noticed, is I didn't wear a suit for whatever reason. I still have battles with my brain over why my decision making is what it is. But I wore a gray long sleeve button down with a tie. What was all the wait staff wearing at the wedding? A gray button down long sleeve button down with a tie. I know you had a lot of other things going on, but I took a couple selfies with the wait staff. My table's like, hey, Mike, are you working tonight? I'm like, I could be.
If you need to step in.
Yeah, so, somebody told me to go to the kitchen and get the food when they were getting anxious. I'm like, you've been sitting down for 5 minutes, relax. I went into full waiter mode. I'm like, just fucking relax for a second. So yeah, overall, it was a really good wedding. Everyone was involved, from you being in the wedding to Bill being the officiant. It was like a Keith and Kent family reunion. We haven't had that many of those people in the same place at the same time for a while. That might not happen again either.
Yeah.
So we really all kind of took it in and reminisced. And that last song of the American Pie before we all left was a great capper. So let's move on to, that was segment 1. We are now, that's my new segment. You like the whoosh?
I like that, yeah.
Sure. We're moving on to segment 2, which is the Mount Rushmore of Chicago athletes. So let me give you, I did a little bit of research because I have nothing else to do with my life. This is interesting. So just Mount Rushmore itself. A lot of people will say a Mount Rushmore of this, Mount Rushmore of that, sitcoms, bands, whatever. It's just basically the top 4 of whatever it is, because the Mount Rushmore has 4 presidents on it. It's in South Dakota. Makes sense. I guess they were the 4 best presidents at the time.
Maybe most influential.
Let's
go with that.
Me and Carl don't see eye to eye on a lot of political things, but
I'm not saying any of them are bad, but I think that's the best way to phrase it.
But I will say, so it was completed in 1941, October 31st of 1941. There is some mystery about it was from the Sioux Nation. I guess we stole it from Sioux Nation. Do you know anything about this?
Not specifically
so
on that, but that, I mean.
So in the 1870s, I guess it was owned by Sioux Nation and we just took it. And some people have called it the Shrine of Hypocrisy. It's an interesting thing. Another side note, in 1980, the United States government offered Sioux Nation $100 million. Now, this was on Google. It has to be true.
Absolutely.
The United States government, in their battle, because Sioux Nation still thinks it's theirs and they want it back. They want, they want to be paid, or they want the land back, I think. Because in 1980, they were offered $100 million, Sioux Nation, by the government, and they turned it down. You believe that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was on Google, so it absolutely must be.
Shout out Google.
That's pretty much, I don't know if you wanted to go. It was supposed to be head to waist with all of them, but it just ended up being the head of those 4 guys. I don't even know what they are. Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, and Jefferson. Yeah. So, hey, we got them all. What do you think about that?
Look at that.
I can't believe it. I thought it was going to be that. Because I didn't realize right away who the 4 were, but we got them pretty good. So the lack of funding made it just the heads. I think George Washington. This is the stupidest lead up ever. All right, let's get to the good stuff. So I'm going to let you start because I've just been talking way too much. We're going to do Mount Rushmore, top 4 athletes of Chicago sports history. And Carl's going to start. He's going to give one. I'm going to give one. We're going to go back and forth. When Carl has 4, I have 4. Whenever one of us says 1, that's off the list. So we might have some overlapping ones, so I might have to reach at the end. We'll see. Number 1 for you.
I mean, you literally can't do anything other than Jordan for number 1. No matter what, it's MJ. It's the most iconic athlete of all time.
And so. I think MJ is probably number 1 overall maybe with Muhammad Ali, overall, not just in Chicago, but all sports. I think just with everything he's done. Now, obviously, 6 titles, he averaged 30 points a game and 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and all these steals, and 14 All-Stars, 5 MVPs, 6 Finals MVPs, 6-0. But that's just him playing. Just the fact that what he did with advertising, Nike, McDonald's, he's Gatorade, he was Coke for a while, batteries. I remember him being on batteries, and I'm like, well, let's get those batteries. I think he still has cologne. Just ridiculous.
He's got everything.
Yeah. Overall. So, okay, I can't say MJ. I will go with number 2. He's on our wall. I want to thank Carl for he brought in a bunch of jerseys. I got them here. There's actually a homage to one of one of our co-friends, Lee.
Yeah.
Lee, that's for you.
Boy.
It's not Derek Lee of the Cubs. That's just you, Lee. I'm not going to say your last name because I don't want to get you in trouble. But all the jerseys are courtesy of Carl. We kind of made up the whole...
Except for the Blackhawks.
Except for the Blackhawks. I took the Blackhawks. Also, you brought a couple of Cubs jerseys. I replaced it with Rizzo because I don't know if anybody would know Aramis Ramirez. Well, the big-time Cub fans would. All right, so number 2 is Walter Payton. I have Walter Payton. Sweetness is my 1, so I guess I'm going to have to cross these off as we go. But Walter Payton was, I have it down here. He had 125 total TDs. His nickname was Sweetness, which he was a sweet, sweet man. The Walter Payton Man of the Year award is named after him. Every single year they give somebody, I believe it's in charities and off the field work, just being a fantastic human being. That's called the Walter Payton Award, and that's a very prestigious award. Won the MVP in 1977 and 1985. I feel like 77 might have been his rookie year. Did he win MVP as a rookie? No, 75.
75. Yeah.
Okay, so he won MVP just a couple years. Here's one of the biggest stats about Walter Payton that nobody realizes. And there's a ton of rules now where you can't tackle a certain way, no horse collar, can't lead with your helmet. And this is all good for the safety and healthy. But when Walter played, it was none of that. Walter played 13 seasons. How many games did he miss?
1.
He missed 1 game.
That's what I thought, yeah.
1 game his rookie year, and then he played 186 consecutive after that. Now there's I think was it the Brett Favre streak? But I don't care. Walter was something else. And I lived in suburban Chicago up until the end of high school. I was born and raised there. He had Peyton's Hill was just about 5-10 minute drive from where we lived in Arlington Heights. And he would bring some of his teammates up. This hill was his off-season workout. And it was a very steep hill, very high hill. And he would just be running up and running down, and there were paths on it, there was obstacles on it. He would bring some of his teammates out, and his teammates were like,
yeah, they just didn't do it.
5 minutes, and they're like, I'm leaving. I can't do it. So I got Walter as my number 1, and you're number 2.
Are we not doing snake draft style?
Are we doing steak?
Yeah, it's more fun.
Oh, so okay,
Yeah.
so I go again. Done.
Let's do snake.
I'm going to do number 3. Oh, I got to say this for my dad. My dad, one of my dad's favorite first heroes was a man named Ernie Banks. Mr. Cub. This one's for you, Pops. Ernie Banks. So far we have MJ, we've got Walter Payton, and we got Ernie Banks. And we're going to have 8 at the end. Okay, I got you. So Ernie Banks played 19 years, all with the Cubs, known as Mr. Cub, known for saying terms like, let's play 2. The man almost seemed to be smiling at all times when he was on the field. 512 home runs for a shortstop. Back in that day, it was unheard of.
Insane.
So back in the day, and it still reigns true today, but there's a lot more power. In the early days, the defensive players up the middle had all the speed. So center fielders, second baseman, shortstop, even catcher, I guess you could say. Tons of speed, not tons of power.
Think of like Ozzie Smith.
Barry Larkin, prime-time example. Amazing defenders, great in the field, but not overly powerful at the plate. That's changed. Everyone's powerful everywhere. But back in the day, 512 home runs for a shortstop was unheard of. 2 MVPs, 14-time All-Star, never played in the playoffs, which sucks. 2,583 total hits, which is a lot of hits. Like, we might not see another guy get to 3,000. I think Biggio was the last one. We'll see. But Ernie Banks, that's a shout out to my dad because that was one of his first, and Mr. Cub. So there you go. All right, you're up, my friend.
Well, that's a great pick. I think I'm just going to complete the infield battery, and I got to go with Rhino.
Yes, sir.
Ryan Sandberg.
Yes, sir. That was my other. I was thinking about him or Ernie, but I had to say Ernie for my dad.
Yeah, so Rhino obviously is huge for me personally too, because I was born in 1984 when he was having his MVP. Was that his MVP season?
84 was his MVP season.
When the Cubs went to the NLCS, and fun story, I was born about, I think it was like 20, 30 minutes after the Cubs went up on the Padres
2-0
in the NLCS back when it was best of 5. We thought we were going to the World Series.
And we should have had home field advantage,
Yep.
but since we didn't have lights yet,
We couldn't
lights
play.
only came in 1988, which sidebar, one of our cousins out there, Jillian, was born on August 8th. Was it 88?
88.
So she, oh my.
I don't know. Was Jillian born that year? I don't know her exact birthday.
she was,
Jillian.
yeah, sorry. You were born, yeah, I didn't do enough research. I'm pretty sure you were born on August 8th, but, so what were you saying again?
Yeah, so born right after that, thought the Cubs were going to the World Series. I was almost named Ryan, but because I was the first grandchild on the other side of the family.
Amazing.
With a family name.
So,
but that's how influential he was back then. And kind of like with Ernie with shortstops, he essentially revolutionized second base in that same way, where it wasn't a power position. He came along, 40 homer guy.
100%. He had 40 home runs, led the league one year.
Hitting, he was, yeah.
The thing about, I got to find out. What I wanted to say was they were supposed to have home field advantage because they had a better record than the Padres, but the Padres had lights in their stadium. Did you know that? So the last 3 games...
Actually did not, but...
The last 3 games were at San Diego, and we had a better record. And San Diego and the Steve Garvey assholes, they took it over. But so Ryan Sandberg had a 989 fielding percent as a second baseman, which was a record, all-time record. That basically means 99 times out of every 100 that the ball went to him, he did exactly what he needed to do, no errors. And that was in 1997. MLB was around for more than 100 years before that. 10-time All-Star, 9 Golden Gloves, 7 Silver Sluggers. So he was something else. So you have another one coming.
Yes. So let's see here.
As I go over my notes that are now completely out of order. Okay.
I think I got to go a little outside of the ball here. Ooh.
That was just a kiss to my notes, I guess.
I'm going to go with a hometown Chicago guy who played forever, Chris Chelios.
Oh, Chelly.
Got to have a Blackhawk in there. Chelios, for those that don't know, Chicago legend, known, he grew up, born and raised.
Defender.
He did unfortunately play for the Red Wings for a bit, but played for, after playing his career in Chicago. He is known for the insane training regimen, kind of like Walter Payton. He played till he was 47.
Okay.
Eventually 47 years old, I think.
Yes.
Something insane like that. But he was also known as a huge partier and would drink more beer than anyone and still be the first one up at 5 a.m., hitting the rink, working out.
So was he the first Jeremy Roenick? Wasn't Roenick like that?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And he played,
Chelios was better.
He played deep into his 40s. I remember that.
It was legit. 46 at a minimum, if not 47.
And I feel like he's a broadcaster, like a major broadcaster, is he not? Maybe not.
I don't know. Helpful. I know.
You don't watch a lot. I'm like, Carl, is he a major broadcaster? And he's like, I don't know.
He's not. He's not on TNT or ESPN's hockey coverage.
Yeah,
so not major. He might be for like a local network.
I think he's on local
Probably
NBC,
local.
And he's very much with it. Very much with it, especially after all his concussions. And now he came in where you had to wear a helmet. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So I got 2 more, and then you got 1.
Yep.
All right, another homage to you, Pops. It's all about you. You look like this following guy. Many times throughout life, you have been stopped, and they ask you if you are the coach. And you look like the coach. You are not the coach, but we are talking about Mike Ditka. So as far as Chicago sports go, I will argue that Mike Ditka is certainly on the Mount Rushmore, if not next in line. The man was Rookie of the Year in the NFL in 1961 playing for the Bears. So he spent 10 years with the Bears as a tight end, almost revolutionized the position back then. He was the first ever tight end to get 1,000 yards receiving in a year, and I think he was also the first tight end to get 1,000 yards receiving, period. That's changed quite a bit.
I would assume so.
It's a passing year.
Non-existent. Yeah.
But so he spent 10 years with the Bears. I think he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl with the Cowboys, but we don't like the Cowboys. obviously was the coach of the Bears, the coach of the Bears. They won it all in 1985. Some people say they should have won more. Listen, it's not easy. Not everybody has Mahomes or Brady. Those guys are just ridiculous. The way that those guys found ways to win. Now McMahon was good, often injured. The punky QB was amazing for Chicago. That whole team was a bunch of personalities led by Mike Ditka. But we didn't have, if we had a marquee quarterback, we might have won more than one.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We had Peyton in his prime, which was great. For my money, the greatest defense to ever play was the 1985 Bears with Singletary, Wilbur Marshall, Gator, Dan Hampton, Steve McMichael,
Ron Rivera.
We had
the
Mike.
Fridge.
The Fridge was there.
Did we even say Richard Dent?
Richard Dent was the Super Bowl MVP.
Not the possible picks, but yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so how many of those guys are Hall of Famers? And they were all led by Mike Ditka. Right underneath him was Buddy Ryan, the defensive coordinator. But Mike Ditka is synonymous with Chicago. You see Mike Ditka, most people think of Chicago. He makes my list 100 times out of 100 and twice on Sunday. So that's Ditka. Then I have one more. And I guess this is another going back to my dad's time. I'm going with Bobby Hull. So Bobby Hull, before there was Michael Jordan taking over a city just as an athlete. I'm not even sure that it was a Chicago Bulls city as it was a Michael Jordan city. And then you threw in Pippen and Grant and Phil Jackson, BJ and Pex and all those. But before MJ, Bobby Hull kind of, I guess, ruled Chicagoland. He went out a lot and partied a lot as well. He was known as the Golden Jet. I'll get to, so they didn't have helmets. No, I think a couple guys might have wore helmets.
No, nobody did.
Nobody wore helmets.
Not even goalies back then.
Not even goalies, psychos. Yeah. As I was reading about him, one of the goalies, I forget what his name was, said, I was concerned, one, with my safety, and second, with stopping the shot when Bobby Hull shot it, because he had the hardest shot in the NHL. 10-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 3-time league scoring leader, had 610 overall goals, 1 Stanley Cup title, left winger, Bobby Hull. So he makes the list, especially after you took somebody else. I had somebody else in there. So Bobby Hull. So let's, before we get to the final one, our Mount Rushmore, the two Mount Rushmores next to each other, I guess you could say. MJ, Walter Payton, Ernie Banks, Ryan Sandberg, Ryan, R-Y-N-E, great name. Chris Chelios of the Blackhawks, Coach Mike Ditka, and then Bobby Hull of the Golden Jet of the Blackhawks. And the last one, Carl, is yours. Are you going to have to reach for this one?
I don't think it's so much reaching as deciding who to go with.
Did that bird help you at all?
No.
I didn't know what I was hitting there.
That's cool.
Let me slap out of it. All right, go ahead.
So I don't have any Bears on my Mount Rushmore, which seems insane.
So was Ditka on your Mount Rushmore?
He was who I was going to go with over Chelios, but I wanted
big time.
Switch it up a little bit.
I wonder if I have anybody left. Do I have anybody left? I'm
gonna go with I gotta go with Singletary.
Oh yeah, Iron Mike
Singletary, yeah.
Iron Mike Singletary, I love it. Samurai Mike.
Yep. I don't even think we mentioned him on that 85 defense. Part of the best defense ever, the captain of the best defense ever, the leader.
That defense, dude.
He helped revolutionize that middle linebacker position for the likes of guys like Ray Lewis and Urlacher and everyone else who came later. So
he did. And the Super Bowl Shuffle had all those guys in there. So
it pains me to leave. I can't believe we left Scotty off this list, but no Pippen in our top 8. But he's borderline. I mean, we can go over some honorable mentions if you want.
Yeah, we can do honorable mentions. We'll say Scottie Pippen. A couple things to say about Scottie Pippen.
Let's hear a Scotty story.
A Scotty story. Well,
do you have any Scotty stories?
Scotty doesn't tip. I know that for a fact. Living in Chicago, I worked at a steakhouse there for 10 years or so. I waited on Ted Washington, great tipper. I shit my pants he was with a younger cousin or something, and his younger cousin had braces on, and Ted. This was a couple days before a game. I don't know how I got into Ted Washington. I'll get to Pippen in a second. But Ted Washington was a defensive tackle for the Bears. Played a lot for Buffalo first. This guy was
gigantic,
enormous. I'm going to say 6'6". They listed him at like 385, but he was way more than 385. He comes in. It's a booth. There's 6 people that could sit there. He took up an entire side himself. He got 2 of our T-bone steaks, which are the biggest steaks. I still remember this. He ordered mushrooms, grilled onions, 2 orders of each, slobbered them on the steaks, and he had a cousin there, and his cousin looked young, and a couple more funny things. Sorry, I'm trying to get this out. Right. Ted Washington ordered a Shirley Temple. Which I kind of chuckled at, and he looked at me, and I'm like, that was the end of my chuckling. That's not when I shit my pants, okay? His buddy, I'm guessing it was his cousin, orders a Budweiser bottle. Like, Budweiser bottle? Okay, see your ID? He's like, what? My ID? And I'm like, yeah, can I see your ID? He's like, and he just kind of looked at me funny, and then Ted, out of nowhere, just goes, your ID! Show me your ID! I shit my fucking pants, dude. I saw Ted on 10 because he was just chilling out. Take a Shirley Temple. I want 2 of your, bone, the T-bone steaks and the mushrooms, and then his buddy did not understand I was asking for it. He just show me your ID, and I shit my pants. I had to change drawers, but okay. So back to Scotty. Scotty, I think pissed a lot of Chicago fans off recently with what he said about The Last Dance. Now, The Last Dance was a documentary with Michael, 10-part, came out during COVID, basically showed how great Michael was, and Michael had the final say on most of the stuff that went in there. Scotty wasn't shown in a great light in a bunch of spots. He wasn't. So I understand that. But he said some things. Now, he was selling a book, too, recently, where he went after Michael, and I understand, but he rubbed me a little wrong there.
It's complicated.
It is.
His ex-wife is dating Michael Jordan's son. So
there's that.
It's a very, very complicated, decade-long relationship, and he's always obviously had that little brother syndrome.
And the one thing I will say about Scotty, a lot of former NBA players really laud how good Scotty was. Yeah. Both sides. You want to talk about a two-way player. Scotty, on my lifetime, is the quintessential two-way player. That guy would shut down anybody he wanted, whenever he wanted, and then he'd come down and hit a clutch 3. Like, he had migraines here and there. It's something you can control. But without Scotty, Michael said it himself at his Hall of Fame announcement. Michael, Scotty was in the stands. He said, without you, Pip, I don't have six titles. Yeah. Michael probably would have had 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4, no matter who was with him. But he wouldn't have 6 without Scotty.
You need that number 2.
So the number 2, that's an honorable mention, Scotty. I don't have anybody else. I mean,
I've got a.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to do all of mine, but
go ahead.
So, like, for the Bulls, D Rose, obviously, what would have been
without injuries.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously.
He was a league MVP. Him with Joakim Noah, Gator.
MVP ever at the time.
That team almost got LeBron.
And Joakim was on my list just for personal reasons. He was,
yes.
But he was an incredible player. Not quite Hall of Fame, but...
Are you talking about D Rose or Joakim? Joakim, Defensive Player of the Year. And one of the reasons why Joakim was so good...
5 or 6 times.
Joakim came with his energy every single night. Maybe not when he got to New York. But with the Bulls, he came every single night and D'd up and was so unselfish, would always find the open man, but...
And he's the quintessential, if he's on your team, you love him and you'll do anything for him. And if he's not on your team,
you hate him.
Fucking hate him.
Absolutely.
Can we curse on here?
What's that?
Can we curse on here?
I apparently so. Fuck! Yes, we can. Is everyone listening? Fuck that shit. We'll swear whatever we want. This is not for kids. Put the kids to bed. Who else?
So for the Hawks, Bobby Hull was one I liked a lot, but that's a big separate the player from the person guy because huge piece of shit, unfortunately. But Taze and Kane,
Yeah.
Blackhawks.
3 titles. 3
Yeah.
titles. You got to remember that.
And Duncan Keith was just as
Yeah,
influential
and he
on
was,
that same squad.
I believe it was number 2. He was a defenseman and assistant captain or something. But Blackhawks crazy during that time.
Yep. The one I really regret leaving off was Greg Maddux.
Oh,
I mean,
it sucks that he was
the stretch in Atlanta, but still both his early and late stretch and everything. Him, Kerry Wood, Billy Williams for an old timer.
I got one.
What about Mark Grace? Oh my God, Mark Grace was so dreamy.
Yeah, so Mark Grace.
Was that what he was considered back then?
I guess.
I was too young.
I don't know who that was. That was my alternate voice, I guess. But so Mark Grace led the major leagues in hits for a decade.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, right? I think he's the only guy not in the Hall of Fame to lead the league in hits over a decade.
Yeah, I think he gets hurt because he didn't hit for a lot of power compared to most first basemen.
He's